The year is 2010, and deep within the FBI's counterintelligence division, agents are putting the finishing touches on what will become one of the most spectacular spy ring takedowns in modern history. For over a decade, they've been watching, listening, and documenting every move of a network that seemed straight out of a Cold War thriller. But what these Russian operatives don't know is that their entire operation has been compromised by someone they trusted completely. Someone on the inside has been feeding information to American intelligence for years, and now the walls are closing in. This is the story of how a single betrayal brought down an entire international spy network, exposing deep cover agents who had spent years building their American identities. It's a tale of deception, technology, and ultimately, the fragile nature of trust in the world of espionage. What unfolded would become known as the largest Russian spy ring bust on American soil, but it all started with one man's decision to flip sides. Anna Chapman sits in a Manhattan coffee shop, her red hair catching the afternoon light as she opens her laptop. To anyone watching, she appears to be just another young professional checking her emails. But what the casual observer can't see is that Anna is about to engage in one of the most sophisticated forms of spy communication ever deployed on American soil. She's creating an encrypted wireless network, invisible to most, that will allow her to transmit sensitive information directly to a Russian government official sitting somewhere nearby. This isn't Anna's first time using this method. Over the past 6 months, she's repeated this ritual nearly 10 times across various locations throughout New York City. Sometimes it's a Barnes & Noble on Greenwich Street, other times a different coffee shop or public space. The locations change, but the method remains the same. She establishes a private wireless connection, transfers data, and disappears back into the crowd of ordinary New Yorkers. What Anna doesn't realize is that every single one of these meetings has been monitored. FBI surveillance teams have been documenting her activities as part of a massive investigation they call Operation Ghost Stories. They've watched her create these networks, they've identified the Russian officials she's communicating with, and they've been building a case that will eventually expose not just Anna, but an entire network of Russian deep cover agents operating across America. Anna Chapman is what intelligence agencies call an illegal, a spy operating under deep cover without diplomatic immunity. She's not working out of the Russian embassy or consulate where she might have some protection. Instead, she's living as an ordinary American resident, building a life and identity that serves as the perfect camouflage for her real mission. Her job is to penetrate influential circles, gather intelligence, and slowly work her way into positions where she can access valuable information about American foreign policy and national security. But Anna is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Across the United States, 9 other Russian operatives are living similar double lives. Some have been in America for over a decade, raising families, starting businesses, and integrating so completely into American society that their neighbors would never suspect their true allegiances. They use sophisticated communication methods, including custom steganographic software that hides messages inside innocent-looking digital images, and they pass information using everything from flash drives to invisible ink. The network represents years of careful planning, an enormous investment by Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, known as the SVR. These aren't amateur spies or recent recruits. They're the cream of the crop, graduates of Russia's most elite intelligence academies, selected for their ability to blend seamlessly into American society while maintaining their covert mission. Each operative has been given a carefully constructed identity, complete with backstories, documentation, and the kind of personal details that would fool even thorough background checks. The man overseeing this entire operation from Moscow is Colonel Alexander Petaev, deputy head of the SVR's S Department. Petaev has spent years managing these deep cover agents, coordinating their activities, and ensuring their communications remain secure. He knows every detail of their operations, every method they use to communicate, and every code they employ to identify themselves to their handlers. In the world of espionage, this level of access makes him incredibly valuable, and incredibly dangerous if his loyalties ever shift. What none of the operatives in America know is that Petaev has been living a double life of his own. For over a decade, he's been secretly working for American intelligence, feeding information about Russian spy operations directly to the CIA and FBI. Every detail he knows about the illegal network, every communication method they use, every code and password, all of it has been quietly making its way into the hands of American counterintelligence officers. This betrayal represents one of the most significant intelligence coups in modern espionage history. Peteyev isn't just providing information about current operations, he's giving American intelligence a complete roadmap of how the SVR operates, how they train their deep cover agents, and what methods they use to maintain contact with operatives in the field. It's the kind of intelligence that can reshape an entire counterintelligence strategy. The FBI has been using Peteyev's information methodically, building cases against each of the 10 operatives while being careful not to expose their source. They've intercepted encrypted communications, decoded steganographic messages hidden in digital images, and even planted surveillance devices to monitor face-to-face meetings between the spies and their handlers. The evidence they've accumulated is overwhelming, but they're waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As June 2010 approaches, that moment is rapidly drawing near. Intelligence suggests that some of the operatives are planning to leave the United States, potentially putting them beyond the reach of American law enforcement. Anna Chapman herself has been showing signs of growing paranoia, apparently sensing that something isn't right. She's told her father she suspects she might have been discovered and is planning to return to Moscow in mid-July. The clock is ticking, and the FBI knows they have a narrow window to act before their targets scatter to the winds. The decision comes down from the highest levels of American intelligence. It's time to move. But this won't be a simple arrest operation. The FBI has spent too many years building this case to risk botching it at the final moment. They need to coordinate the simultaneous takedown of 10 highly trained operatives spread across multiple states, all while ensuring that none of them can warn the others or destroy evidence that might implicate the broader Russian intelligence network. Planning begins in earnest during the first weeks of June. FBI field offices in New York, Boston, Seattle, and Arlington receive their orders. Each team has been tracking their assigned targets for months, learning their routines, identifying their vulnerabilities, and preparing for this exact moment. The operation requires split-second timing. If even one operative escapes or manages to send a warning signal, the entire mission could collapse. Anna Chapman continues her routine, unaware that every movement is being catalogued by surveillance teams. She visits her favourite coffee shops, meets with potential contacts, and maintains the facade of a young entrepreneur building her network in Manhattan's competitive business scene. But the FBI notices changes in her behaviour. She's become more cautious, more paranoid. During one surveillance operation, agents observe her checking for tails, varying her routes, and taking other basic counter-surveillance measures that suggest she's growing suspicious. The paranoia isn't unfounded. On June 26th, just one day before the planned arrests, the FBI decides to test Anna's state of mind with a dangerous gambit. They send an undercover agent posing as a Russian consulate employee to approach her with a fabricated story about computer problems. It's a risky move that could expose their entire operation, but they need to know if Anna is planning to flee the country immediately. The undercover agent meets Anna and explains that he's having technical difficulties with his laptop. He asks if she can help him establish a secure wireless connection to transmit some important information back to Moscow. It's exactly the kind of request that would normally trigger Anna's training and operational protocols. But something feels wrong to her. The timing is suspicious, the request too convenient, and the agent himself doesn't seem quite right. Anna's instincts are screaming danger, but she can't pinpoint exactly what's troubling her. She agrees to help, but her responses are guarded, and she asks more questions than usual. The FBI agent, wearing a hidden recording device, captures every word of the conversation. What they hear confirms their worst fears. Anna is definitely planning to leave the country soon, and she's growing increasingly convinced that her cover has been blown. That evening, FBI Director Robert Mueller receives the final briefing on Operation Ghost Stories. The evidence is overwhelming, the surveillance has been thorough, and the timing couldn't be more critical. But there's one element that makes everyone nervous. They still don't know if the Russian operatives have any dead man switches or emergency protocols that could compromise other American intelligence operations if they're arrested. The SVR has a reputation for sophisticated planning and contingency operations. If these deep cover agents have been instructed to activate certain procedures upon arrest, it could trigger a cascade of problems for American intelligence services around the world. Russian intelligence might burn American assets, expose ongoing operations, or activate sleeper agents in other countries as retaliation. June 27th, 2010. Across 4 states, FBI agents begin moving into position. In New York, surveillance teams confirm that Anna Chapman is at her apartment, apparently packing for what she believes will be her escape back to Moscow. In Boston, agents watch as another operative follows his normal morning routine, completely unaware that this will be his last day of freedom. Similar scenes play out in Seattle and Arlington, where the remaining members of the spy ring continue their carefully constructed American lives, oblivious to the storm that's about to break over them. The arrests begin simultaneously at precisely 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Anna Chapman is the first to be taken into custody as she leaves her Manhattan apartment building. FBI agents approach her on the sidewalk, identify themselves, and place her under arrest for conspiracy to act as an unregistered foreign agent. She doesn't resist, but the look of resignation on her face suggests she's not entirely surprised. Across the country, similar scenes unfold as the other 9 operatives are arrested at their homes, workplaces, and even during routine activities like grocery shopping. The FBI has choreographed each arrest carefully to minimize the chances of resistance or escape attempts. Most of the spies surrender quietly, though a few attempt to destroy evidence or contact their handlers before being subdued. Within hours, the arrests make international headlines. The story has everything attractive the media loves: unease, Cold War intrigue, and the kind of real-life espionage drama that usually only exists in movies. Anna Chapman, with her striking red hair and photogenic appearance, quickly becomes the face of the scandal. But behind the sensational headlines lies a more complex story of betrayal, technological surveillance, and the ongoing shadow war between intelligence services. The Russian government's response is swift and predictable. Officials deny any knowledge of the spy ring, claim the arrests are politically motivated, and demand the immediate return of their citizens. But privately, Russian intelligence officials are conducting their own investigation into how such a carefully planned operation could have been so thoroughly compromised. Back in Moscow, Alexander Petaev realizes that his years of double-dealing have finally caught up with him. As news of the arrest spreads, he understands that it's only a matter of time before Russian counterintelligence connects him to the disaster. The man who brought down an entire spy network now faces the most dangerous period of his own life. The aftermath of Operation Ghost Stories sent shockwaves through the intelligence community that are still felt today. Within days of the arrests, all 10 operatives pleaded guilty to conspiring to act as unregistered foreign agents, and 11 days later, they were part of the largest spy swap since the Cold War. Anna Chapman and her fellow agents were exchanged for 4 Russians imprisoned in their homeland for allegedly spying for the West, but the damage to Russian intelligence operations was irreversible. Colonel Alexander Petaev, the man whose betrayal made it all possible, disappeared from Moscow just hours before Russian authorities came looking for him. He was later sentenced to death in absentia by a Russian military court, his name forever etched in the annals of espionage as both a master spy and the ultimate traitor. The network he helped destroy represented decades of planning and millions of dollars in investment, all undone by a single decision to switch sides. The case stands as a stark reminder of how fragile these elaborate intelligence operations truly are. No matter how sophisticated the technology, how careful the planning, or how deep the cover, it all comes down to human trust. And in the world of espionage, trust is always the most dangerous commodity of all. The global game of cat and mouse continues, but the players now know that even the most secure networks can crumble with just one leak from the inside.